The press conference was never supposed to happen that soon, but chaos had its own schedule. Rosé stood behind the curtain, palms damp, heartbeat hammering so hard she wondered if the microphones outside could pick it up. The low murmur of journalists leaked through the fabric like static, questions already forming, accusations already sharpened. Bruno stood beside her, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up, jaw tense. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. "We can walk out, let management clean it up." Rosé shook her head. "No more hiding," she replied, voice trembling but firm. "If I keep letting other people speak for me, I'll disappear." Bruno searched her face. "Are you ready for what they'll ask?" She laughed softly, bitter. "They're not going to ask, they're going to decide." On the other side of the room, Jennie watched the live feed on her phone. She hadn't planned to. She told herself she was only checking headlines, only monitoring damage control for the group. But when the camera panned to the empty podium, her chest tightened. She muted the sound. 5 seconds, someone said backstage. Bruno reached for Rosé's hand. This time, he didn't hesitate. She squeezed back, grounding herself in the warmth of his skin. They stepped out together. The flash was blinding. Questions exploded instantly. Was the confession staged? Are you confirming a relationship? What about Jennie? Was there betrayal inside the group? Rosé flinched at that one. Bruno leaned into the microphone first. "We're here because things were said without context," he began, "and because silence would only make it worse." A reporter shouted, "So you admit it was real?" Bruno glanced at Rosé. She nodded. "Yes," Rosé said, stepping forward. Her voice was soft, but the room stilled. "It was real." The reaction was instant. Gasps, murmurs, fingers flying across keyboards. "I didn't plan for it to happen that way," she continued. "I didn't plan for any of this, but I won't pretend it was an accident either." Someone yelled, "Did you betray Jennie?" Rosé's breath caught. For a split second, her composure cracked. "No," she said finally. "I hurt her, there's a difference, and I'll carry that guilt for a long time." Bruno turned toward her sharply, surprised. She didn't look at him. "I won't let people rewrite our friendship into something ugly just to make this story easier to consume," Rosé went on, tears shining but not falling. "Jennie didn't deserve to be dragged into this." Across the city, Jennie unmuted the feed. Her jaw tightened. A reporter pushed harder. "But you chose him." Rosé nodded. "Yes." The word echoed louder than any headline. Bruno felt it like a punch and a promise at the same time. "And you," another voice shouted at him. "Did you pursue her knowing she was in a group with Jennie?" Bruno stepped forward, anger flaring. "I didn't pursue anyone," he said. "I fell, slowly, quietly, and I tried to deny it until it tore everything apart." "Do you regret it?" He didn't even pause. "No." Rosé turned to him, eyes wide. "I regret the pain," he added, softer now, "but not the truth." The room erupted again. The conference ended abruptly after that. Security ushered them out through a side exit as reporters shouted questions that went unanswered. Outside, the air felt colder, sharper. Rosé leaned against the car, shaking. "I think I'm going to be sick." Bruno held her shoulders. "You were brave." "I was selfish," she whispered. "You were honest," he corrected. "That's not the same thing." Her phone buzzed. A message from Jennie. Rosé froze. "What?" Bruno asked. Rosé stared at the screen, heart racing. "She says, you didn't lie." Bruno exhaled slowly. Another message followed. "But don't mistake silence for forgiveness." Rosé closed her eyes. "I wouldn't dare." That night, the internet burned. Fans divided. Think pieces multiplied. Old clips resurfaced, moments dissected frame by frame. Some painted Rosé as a villain. Some painted her as a victim. Some crowned the story as the greatest forbidden romance of the decade. None of them felt right. In a quiet apartment miles away, Jennie sat alone, laptop open, documents scattered across the table. She wasn't reading comments anymore. She was writing. A song. Her fingers hovered over the keys, then began to move. "You loved her loudly," she murmured to herself. "I loved you quietly." The melody came easily. The words did not. Meanwhile, Bruno and Rosé lay awake in the same bed, fully clothed, inches apart but not touching, as if afraid movement might break the fragile ceasefire inside their chests. "Are we terrible people?" Rosé asked into the dark. Bruno stared at the ceiling. "Sometimes." She laughed softly, tears slipping into her hair. "Is love supposed to feel like this?" He turned toward her at last. "Not like this," he said, "but sometimes it does." She reached for his hand under the covers, finally letting herself take what she'd been denying for years. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Screens glowed in countless bedrooms. Somewhere, Jennie's song took shape line by line, sharp and beautiful and unforgiving. The song leaked before dawn. Rosé woke to Bruno's sharp intake of breath beside her, the glow of his phone cutting through the dark like a blade. He didn't say anything at first. He didn't have to. She knew that look, the one artists got when something private had escaped into the wild, naked and irreversible. "What is it?" she asked, already sitting up. Bruno turned the screen toward her. A grainy audio clip, a title trending worldwide, lyrics scrolling in ruthless white text. "You loved her loudly. I loved you quietly. I learned how to smile while disappearing." Rosé's stomach dropped. "Jennie." Bruno's jaw tightened. "It's unfinished, raw. Whoever leaked it wanted blood." Rosé pressed her hands to her mouth. The melody, she recognized it immediately. Late nights, hotel corridors, Jennie humming to herself when she thought no one was listening. This wasn't a diss track. It was a confession sharpened into a weapon by the wrong hands. Her phone exploded to life. Calls, messages, notifications stacking so fast the screen lagged. "She didn't mean for it to be heard like this," Rosé whispered. "She wouldn't." Bruno swung his legs off the bed. Intent doesn't matter once it's out. It took less than an hour for the narrative to twist. Headlines screamed betrayal, revenge, silent rage. Fans picked sides like it was war. Clips from years ago resurfaced. Jennie glancing at Bruno, Rosé looking away, moments stitched together to prove whatever people already believed. Rosé's hands shook as she scrolled. "They're turning her pain into a storyline." "They turned all of us into one," Bruno said grimly. The knock came again, harder this time. Management didn't wait for permission. Inside the room, voices collided. "She has to deny it," one said. "He has to respond," another argued. "This is spiraling," a third snapped. Rosé stood. "I'm not denying her pain." A stunned silence. The manager stared at her. "That song paints you as the villain." Rosé's eyes burned. "Then let them see me bleed too." Bruno stepped forward instantly. "She's not doing this alone." The room erupted. No joint statements. This could fracture everything. "Think strategically." Rosé laughed, short and broken. "You mean think safely?" She grabbed her jacket. "I'm going to see her." "Absolutely not," the manager said. "She's unpredictable right now." "That's my fault," Rosé replied, "and I won't hide from it." Bruno followed her out before anyone could stop them. They found Jennie in the one place no one expected, an empty rehearsal studio, lights off except for a single lamp on the floor. She sat cross-legged, guitar resting against her knee, eyes red but steady. The air smelled like dust and metal strings. She didn't look up when they entered. "You shouldn't be here." Rosé's voice cracked. "I had to be." Jennie finally lifted her gaze. There was no anger in it. That was worse. "They stole it," Jennie said quietly. "I wasn't done. It wasn't meant to be a verdict." Bruno spoke carefully. "I believe you." Jennie let out a humorless breath. "Do you?" "Yes," he said, "because that song isn't cruel, it's honest." Rosé stepped closer, every step feeling like walking into fire. "I'm so sorry." Jennie's fingers tightened on the guitar neck. "For loving him. For letting you feel invisible." Jennie looked at her for a long time. I made myself invisible, she said, because I thought that was loyalty. Silence stretched, thick and aching. Say it, Jennie added suddenly, eyes locking on Bruno. Say you never loved me. Bruno didn't hesitate. I cared for you deeply, he said, but I didn't love you the way you deserved. Jennie nodded once, as if bracing for impact. Thank you. Rosé's breath hitched. Jennie. Don't, Jennie interrupted gently. This is the first honest room we've been in. She stood, slinging the guitar strap over her shoulder. The song was never meant to punish you, she continued. It was meant to free me. And now, Bruno asked. And now, Jennie said, meeting Rosé's eyes, I won't let the world turn my healing into your execution. Rosé's tears finally fell. I don't deserve that. Jennie shrugged. Maybe not, but I deserve peace. She walked past them, stopping at the door. One more thing, she said without turning. If you're going to choose each other, don't do it like thieves. The door closed softly behind her. Rosé collapsed onto the studio floor, sobbing openly now. Bruno knelt beside her, pulling her into his chest as the truth settled heavy and undeniable. Outside, the noise grew louder. Inside, something quieter and more dangerous took hold. Not forgiveness, but clarity. And in that clarity, Rosé understood something that terrified her more than any headline. Loving Bruno meant standing in the open, and there would be no shadows left to hide in. The studio door had barely stopped echoing when Rosé pulled away from Bruno, wiping her face with the back of her hand like she was angry at the tears for existing. She's leaving, Rosé said hoarsely. She's really leaving. Bruno watched the closed door, something unreadable tightening behind his eyes. She's choosing herself. And what am I choosing? Rosé snapped, standing abruptly. Because it feels like every choice I make costs someone else their breath. Bruno rose too. You're choosing truth. Rosé laughed, sharp and fractured. Truth doesn't feel noble when it burns this much. The phone in Bruno's pocket vibrated again. He ignored it. It vibrated again and again. Rosé grabbed it from his hand before he could stop her. She read the notification. Her face drained of color. What? Bruno demanded. They're saying Jennie's song wasn't leaked, Rosé whispered. They're saying she released it herself. Bruno's chest tightened. That's not true. There's a timestamp, Rosé said, scrolling frantically. A verified upload, official platforms. The room felt like it tilted. No, Bruno said slowly. She wouldn't do that without telling us. As if summoned, Rosé's phone rang. Jennie. Rosé answered with shaking hands. Tell me this isn't real. Jennie's voice came through calm, steady, terrifyingly composed. It's real. Bruno's breath caught. You released it, Rosé asked. Yes, Jennie replied. This version finished, controlled. But you said, Rosé started. I said I wouldn't let them weaponize my pain, Jennie interrupted. That doesn't mean I'll keep it hidden. Bruno took the phone. Jennie, this will explode. I know, she said. That's the point. Rosé felt her knees weaken. Why would you do this now? Jennie paused. When she spoke again, there was no bitterness, only resolve. Because silence kept making me smaller, and because every story so far painted me as the quiet, broken one. Bruno closed his eyes. You're putting yourself in the crossfire. I've been there the whole time, Jennie replied. At least now I get to stand. Rosé's voice broke. People will say you're attacking us. They'll say whatever makes them feel powerful, Jennie said. I'm not singing at you. I'm singing from myself. Rosé pressed her hand to her chest. Does this mean you hate me? Jennie exhaled slowly. No, it means I refuse to disappear to make your love easier. Bruno leaned against the wall, torn. Is this goodbye? For now, Jennie said. I need distance before resentment grows teeth. The line went dead. Rosé slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, arms wrapped around herself. She turned her pain into a storm. Bruno knelt in front of her and walked straight into it. Outside, the storm was already raging. Jennie's song climbed charts at terrifying speed. Interviews were requested within minutes. Think pieces flipped tone overnight, from pity to praise, from silence to power. Rosé watched it unfold on a muted screen, heart pounding. They're calling her brave. Bruno nodded. She is. And me, Rosé whispered. He hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than any headline. Later that night, Rosé stood alone on the balcony, city lights flickering like distant fires. Bruno joined her quietly. I don't know how to be the villain, she said. You're not, he replied. Everyone needs one, Rosé said bitterly. And she just took her voice back. That leaves me standing in the spotlight with nothing but my guilt. Bruno turned to her. Then stand with it, don't run. She looked at him sharply. Are you ready for what that means? He met her gaze. Say it. It means choosing me publicly, Rosé said. Not just in rooms with closed doors. It means interviews, backlash, loss. It means I stop being half safe. Bruno didn't answer immediately. Rosé's chest tightened. This is where you hesitate again. He shook his head. No, this is where I think before I promise. She looked away, tears threatening again. I won't survive another half-love. Bruno stepped closer. You won't get one. He took her face in his hands, forcing her to look at him. I will stand beside you when they tear us apart, or we end this now and let you keep what's left of your world. Her breath shook. You're asking me to choose again. I'm asking you to choose fully. Silence stretched, electric and cruel. Rosé closed her eyes. Then she nodded. Then tomorrow, she said, voice steady despite the tears. We tell the truth. Together, no filters, no apologies that erase anyone. Bruno leaned his forehead against hers. They'll hate us. Some will, Rosé replied. Others will finally see us. Across the city, Jennie stood in a radio studio, headphones on, microphone live, her voice calm as she introduced the song herself. This isn't a breakup song, she said softly into the mic. It's a survival one. As her voice filled the airwaves, 3 lives moved forward at the same time, no longer circling the same wound, but finally cutting through it. And for the first time since the lights went out on that stage, the world wasn't holding its breath anymore. It was choosing sides. Morning arrived without mercy. Rosé hadn't slept. The city was still damp from rain, headlines multiplying like cracks in glass. Bruno stood at the kitchen counter, phone in hand, jaw clenched as if holding back words that could detonate the room. They want a joint interview, he said finally. Live prime time. Rosé laughed softly, the sound hollow. Of course they do. They want blood, not answers. They're calling it closure, Bruno replied, as if pain ever wraps itself neatly. Rosé walked toward him. And Jennie? Bruno hesitated. She accepted a solo slot, same network, 1 hour before us. The air thickened. So this is a duel, Rosé said. Her truth first, then ours. Bruno looked at her sharply. This isn't a competition. It is now, Rosé snapped, whether we want it or not. Before Bruno could answer, Rosé's phone lit up with an unknown number. She answered without thinking. Rosé, Jennie's voice said, calm but edged with steel. I assume you've seen the schedule. Yes, Rosé replied. I have. Good, Jennie said. Then you know I won't be gentle. Rosé closed her eyes. I never asked you to be. Jennie exhaled. I'm not doing this to destroy you. But you will, Rosé said, whether you mean to or not. Jennie's voice lowered. I spent years shrinking so I wouldn't inconvenience love. I won't do that again. Bruno stepped closer, listening in silence. You're going to talk about us, Rosé said. I'm going to talk about me, Jennie replied. If your reflection appears in my story, that's not my responsibility anymore. Rosé swallowed hard. Do you still love him? The question landed like a blade. Jennie paused. Love doesn't vanish just because dignity arrives. Rosé's chest burned. Then why now? Because the world finally asked me to speak, Jennie said. And for once, I didn't say no. The line went dead again. Rosé stared at her phone, shaking. She's not angry anymore. Bruno nodded slowly. That's what makes it dangerous. The studio that night felt like a battlefield disguised in velvet and lights. Makeup artists whispered. Producers smiled too brightly. Rosé sat across from Bruno, hands locked together, trying to breathe through the noise in her head. On a nearby screen, Jennie appeared live. She looked composed, powerful, untouchable. I was never the girl who cried in public, Jennie said into the camera. I cried in silence. I stayed graceful so no one would accuse me of bitterness. The audience was silent. But silence became a cage, Jennie continued. And love that requires you to disappear is not love, it's erasure. Rosé felt every word like a personal indictment. Jennie met the camera's gaze. I won't name names. I won't rewrite anyone else's story. But I will say this. When you love someone who keeps choosing uncertainty, you eventually have to choose yourself. Social media ignited instantly. By the time Rosé and Bruno were ushered onto their set, the atmosphere was volatile. The host smiled politely. You've both heard Jennie's words. Bruno nodded. Yes. Do you disagree? The host pressed. Rosé leaned forward before Bruno could speak. No, she said. I don't. The host blinked. You agree. Rosé's voice trembled, but she didn't stop. She's right. Love shouldn't make anyone smaller, and I hate that my happiness became part of her pain. Gasps rippled through the studio. Bruno turned to her. Rosé. No, she said softly. I won't hide anymore. She looked directly at the camera. I fell in love without meaning to hurt anyone, and I stayed quiet because I thought silence was kindness. It was fear. The host leaned in. Fear of what? Rosé swallowed. Fear of being seen as the villain. Bruno finally spoke, voice firm. There is no villain here. There are consequences. The host's tone sharpened. Then answer this directly. Bruno, did you love both women at the same time? The question detonated. Bruno didn't look away. Yes. The studio froze. Rosé's breath hitched, but she stayed still. I loved differently, Bruno continued. And I handled it badly. I thought time would solve what honesty should have. The backlash was immediate. Phones buzzed. Feeds exploded. After the broadcast, backstage chaos erupted. Rosé barely made it down the hall before Jennie appeared, standing alone, eyes blazing yet strangely calm. They faced each other in silence. You said it out loud, Jennie said. Rosé nodded. I had to. Jennie stepped closer. It doesn't make it hurt less. I know, Rosé whispered, but I didn't want to steal your truth anymore. Jennie studied her, then laughed quietly. Funny, I thought I'd feel victorious tonight. And, Rosé asked. I just feel free, Jennie replied. And sad, both can exist. Bruno joined them, tension radiating off him. Jennie. She raised a hand. Don't. He stopped. This is where our stories separate, Jennie said. Not with hatred, with boundaries. She looked at Rosé. Take care of him. He breaks easily when faced with himself. Then she walked away, heels echoing down the corridor like a closing chapter. Rosé turned to Bruno, tears finally spilling. We survived. He nodded, voice raw. But we're standing in the ashes. She took his hand anyway. Then we rebuild, not as a secret, not as a fantasy. Outside, the world screamed opinions, chose sides, crowned heroes and villains with reckless ease. Inside, 3 hearts beat on, wounded, exposed, and irrevocably changed. And for the first time, none of them were pretending anymore. The backlash didn't arrive quietly. It came like a tidal wave at dawn, relentless and merciless, crashing into every corner of their lives before the sun had fully risen. Rosé woke to Bruno packing the living room, his voice sharp as glass as he argued with someone on the phone. No, I'm not issuing an apology written by a committee. If I apologize, it will be my words, or nothing. He ended the call and noticed Rosé watching him from the doorway. wrapped in a blanket like armor that wasn't strong enough. "They want blood," she said. "They already got it," Bruno replied. "Now they want more." Her phone vibrated in her hand. A message from Jennie, unexpected and unguarded. "We need to talk, not for the cameras, for ourselves." Rosé's heart pounded. She wants to meet. Bruno's shoulders tensed. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" "No," Rosé said honestly, "but I think it's necessary." They met that night in a quiet studio cafe after closing hours, the kind of place that smelled like burnt coffee and unfinished dreams. Jennie was already there, sitting straight-backed, eyes sharp, elegance intact despite the storm she'd ignited. "So," Jennie said without greeting, "this is what truth costs." Rosé sat across from her. Bruno hesitated, then took the seat beside Rosé. Jennie's gaze flicked to him. "You look older." Bruno didn't flinch. Honesty does that. Silence stretched until Jennie broke it. "I watched the replay again this morning. You said you loved us both." "Yes," Bruno replied, "and I hated myself for it." Jennie laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You don't get points for self-awareness after the damage is done." Rosé leaned forward. "Jennie, I never wanted." "I know," Jennie interrupted. "And that's the cruelest part. If you were malicious, I could hate you. But you were just human." Rosé's voice cracked. "I didn't choose the timing. I didn't choose the mess." "But you chose him," Jennie said softly. "And I had to unchoose myself to stay." Bruno stood abruptly. "That's not fair." Jennie's eyes snapped up. "Fair? You don't get to lecture me about fairness." He clenched his fists. "I stayed because I was afraid of hurting you." "You stayed because it was comfortable," Jennie shot back. "Because I made it easy to not decide." The words hit harder than shouting ever could. Rosé whispered, "Please don't tear each other apart." Jennie turned to her. "I'm not tearing him apart. I'm handing him the mirror he avoided." Bruno exhaled shakily and sat back down. "Then say it. Say everything." Jennie looked at him for a long moment. "I loved you in a way that asked nothing and forgave everything. And one day I realized that kind of love was killing me." Tears slipped down Rosé's cheeks. "I'm sorry my happiness was built on that." Jennie reached across the table and took Rosé's hand, surprising them both. "Don't apologize for loving him. Apologize if you ever let love make you disappear." Rosé nodded, sobbing silently. The cafe door creaked open suddenly. A reporter stood frozen, phone raised, eyes wide. "Oh my God," he whispered. "It's really them." Bruno reacted instantly, standing between the women and the lens. "Leave." The reporter stumbled back, already recording. "People deserve answers." Jennie stood, composed even in crisis. "No, people deserve entertainment. Answers are a privilege." Security arrived moments later, but the damage was done. The clip went viral within minutes, captions twisted into narratives none of them had written. Back at the apartment, the tension finally broke. Rosé turned to Bruno, voice shaking with anger she'd been holding in too long. "Did you ever love me without guilt?" Bruno froze. "Of course I did." "That wasn't the question," she said. "Did you love me freely?" He opened his mouth, then closed it again. The silence was devastating. Rosé laughed through tears. "That pause just shattered something in me." He stepped toward her. "Rosé, please." "I won't be the place you run to after hurting someone else," she said firmly. "If we're doing this, it has to be clean, no shadows." Bruno nodded, tears streaking down his face. "Then I'll face the consequences, all of them." Days later, Jennie stood alone on a stage at a charity event, microphone in hand, eyes steady. "Love," she said to the crowd, "is not a prize to be won. It's a responsibility. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away with your dignity intact." Backstage, Rosé watched the broadcast on her phone, heart heavy but resolute. Bruno joined her. "She's stronger than both of us." Rosé wiped her eyes. She always was. They stood together in silence, no longer hiding, no longer pretending the road ahead would be easy. The world outside still argued, judged, and speculated, but inside that quiet room, something shifted. Love was no longer a secret. Pain was no longer denied. And for the first time since the lights went out at the concert, the truth no longer felt like a weapon. It felt like the beginning of accountability.